So, what is penetration testing and why is it important? Penetration testing, or pen testing, is a cyber attack simulation launched on a computer system to help discover points of exploitation and test the IT breach security of a targeted digital environment, usually within an agreed scope. By pen testing regularly and consistently, businesses can obtain expert, unbiased, third-party feedback on their security processes, and although potentially time-consuming, pen testing helps to prevent extremely costly and damaging breaches. Pen testing is one of those sneaky terms in the English language which describes a whole suite of different services. However, the unifying trait within its constituents is that they're all characterized by a simulated cyber attack, and there are three outstanding practices that make up what's typically coined as a penetration test. Firstly, an internal infrastructure test is the assessment of the network infrastructure of a company from within the network itself. A cybersecurity expert investigates a company's network, and this may be through going to it physically or by using a VPN. They'll then endeavour to breach the company's security in a controlled and regulated manner, and the findings of the assessment go onto a report allowing them to move forward with its recommendations. This is in addition to learning how an attacker might try to exploit their network in the future, thus providing them everything that they might need to defend themselves from an attack. During an external infrastructure test, the tester will not have access to any internal systems, and the goal is to try and gain as much access as possible. This kind of test has an added benefit. The tester will find as much publicly available information about the company's systems as possible, and this often leads to discoveries that the company itself didn't even know existed. A web application test involves the tester looking at a website and assessing its components for vulnerabilities. This is extremely important as it's often where user information goes and requires a vastly different knowledge base than that of an infrastructure test. Just the same as with the infrastructure test, the results of this test are also presented in an easy to understand report, and this is immediately actionable, which helps to secure the company and their clients' data. Hackers adore zero-day vulnerabilities. These are newly discovered flaws in operating systems or applications for which no software patch or update is available. However, in many cases, when networks are compromised, it's discovered that the root cause was a well-known vulnerability that was simply not addressed by applying a software update. Both programs can be run from a single computer, scanning the network for connected computers and then cataloging installed software. They can then identify any unpatched or known insecure software that requires an update. For all your IT equipment, so tablets, smartphones, laptops and PCs, make sure that the software and firmware is always kept up to date with the latest versions from software developers, hardware suppliers and vendors. Applying these updates, or patching as it's also known, is one of the most important things that you can do to improve security. It's essentially the IT version of eating your fruit and veg. Operating systems, programs, phones and apps should all be set to automatically update wherever this is an option. At some point, these updates will no longer be available as the product reaches the end of its supported life, at which point you should consider replacing it with a modern alternative. For more information on applying updates, refer to the NCSC's guidance on vulnerability management. Regular penetration testing is becoming increasingly important. What many business owners seem to want to know, however, is when to arrange a system test. Any application that processes personal data, whether in the storing or retrieving personal data, must have its security tested regularly according to GDPR Article 32(1)(d). Many systems have never had the security tested at all and as such are open to attack. This type of security testing doesn't only extend to web applications and mobile apps, but also to office networks and cloud infrastructure. Any part of an organization that holds or processes data must have its security tested. So when should you get your security tested? Well, if an application is in development and not fully functional, pen testing may not be the best option just yet, as certain parts may change over time. Systems or applications that are feature complete and launch ready should have their security tested with a GDPR pen test, and this will really help to ensure the security of the system and the data that it manages. Anytime an application has a change to its codebase or configuration, it will ensure that any changes made don't compromise the security of the system and cause a data breach. When systems are not subject to testing, it's entirely possible that they may be open to compromise. It's important that if it manages sensitive information in any way, it should undergo testing as soon as possible. So does it matter what time of year you get tested? Well, no, not really. Penetration testing can take place any time of the year with no particular impact, but different organizations tend to pick a specific time of year for security testing due to other factors, and these might include system usage, update schedules, compliance, or launch dates. Cencode recommends a yearly security test, even if the code base of an application hasn't changed really. This is due to the evolving nature of cybersecurity, as new vulnerabilities become apparent almost on a daily basis. An application that's relatively secure today will almost certainly be less so a year from now.